It's just like, bleh.
Yeah, it's so hard, especially in like these environments. Yeah, I agree with you. Which,
Yes, Mom.
What is making me think is
We live?
Yep.
Oh my god. What's up, guys? This is the Furloughed Phil Talks podcast. My name is Alex Kelly. I am here with my brother Ryan.
What is up, everybody?
Dude, we made it. We did this.
We're in Oklahoma City.
We are in OKC. We drove up 3 hours last night.
After work.
Yes.
Yep.
We went home, and Max looked at us like, we're going outside for a while, right, guys? And we were like, no.
No, we are abandoning you.
We are
sweet
leaving
child.
you here in Dallas with our younger brother, who is dutifully taking care of the Gendo back in Dallas.
Yeah, and Ruxton, stop smoking on the balcony. It's a non-smoking
Yes.
apartment building.
That was one thing that
Christ's
we were
sake.
not ready to have to deal with, was him smoking cigars on the balcony. But we are now in Oklahoma
Somehow
City.
he went from 21 years old to like a 70-year-old man.
Yeah, which
in
was
the
really
span
weird.
of a summer.
We are here in Oklahoma City. We are live streaming from the Tower Theater. We have been set up amazingly by the people here. The owner, Steven Tyler. Oh my God, I'm way off today. Tyler, he has been awesome letting us be here. Crystal has been awesome in helping us. Alex, the executive director, we met last night at the first showing that we went to for the We Are the Thousand outside at the Wheeler District with a big Ferris wheel in the background.
Beautiful Ferris wheel
Yes.
downtown in the background.
So this has been really,
It's quite
really
a setting.
cool. This Tower Theater is really, really cool. I found out why the line is out there for the body piercings.
Okay.
Supposedly it's just super popular.
Really?
Yeah, suppose like with COVID, they're only letting like one person in, and there's no like waiting area. So
How
like,
in the world? Do they have like 10 artists going at one
I
time?
don't know.
Like,
I
that
think
line's
it's, like,
going to
one.
be like 48 hours long.
Supposedly it's like a running joke here in OKC that like
You go
it's-
waste your time by standing in line.
Yeah,
at
pretty much.
The
That
tattoo
for
shop?
some reason, people are just standing out in 100-degree heat trying to get tattoos and piercings here in Oklahoma
Should get
City.
should go get a tattoo.
We should go get the deadCenter
Yeah,
logo.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I was
on
either
our arms or
the
something.
Furloughed Film Talk logo or the.
Do like the furloughed logo X deadCenter. I'm doing
We'll see.
it.
We'll
I'll
talk
do
about
it. So no, this has been really, really cool.
Well, we have to be standing in that line till like 1 a.m.
And then miss like all of deadCenter.
Yeah, exactly.
That would not work out
No,
very
not
well.
really.
But we have on here in a minute Caleb Masters from the Cinematropolis, the official podcast of the deadCenter Film Festival. We are going to be on his show tomorrow. That will be dropping on Tuesday, so definitely make sure to check out that. That is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Their Twitter is at the Cinematrop.
Yeah.
And his is C Masters Talk. So definitely go follow them, follow their stuff. He works really hard on that and puts out some really good content. He's got like 9 or 10 interviews coming out this week. He has just been killing it. And then he was super cool hanging out with us last night at the party that we went to.
Yes.
Where
the
was the
kickoff
party? Was that last night, Ryan?
Oh God, what the
Prairie Surf Studios, yes.
Okay.
And what did it used to be?
Convention Center.
Yes,
right?
it used to be a
It used to be the
Cox.
Thunders.
No, so
play there.
They used to be. I think they've always been in the stadium that they've been in, but they used to have like a minor league hockey team in there as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right, before we get too far, we gotta say what's up to Vinny.
is Vinny on?
Yeah, we haven't seen
What
him
is
in a
up,
while.
Vinny? Yeah, we haven't been looking fresh. Yeah, thank you, Vinny. That means a lot.
He just grasses.
Yeah, we need to get up to Michigan.
I'm
Hey,
not going to Michigan.
You're not going to go
Sorry.
to Michigan
No.
even to check out and hang out with Vinny?
He can meet us in Chicago.
Okay, I'm good with that. I miss Vinny. I miss Vinny a lot. He'll send me like
It's
photos.
been like 2 weeks, bro.
But he'll send me like photos and videos and be like, "Hey, like, here's like the latest news," and I'll be like, "Yeah." And some of it's like Fast and Furious stuff, and I'm just like,
Oh, we're gonna talk. Stick around, Vinny, because we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah,
For sure.
the surprise film festival selection movie at Cannes.
What?
It was selected for Cannes.
Fast 9 was?
Yes.
Oh my lord.
So we are definitely getting into that later.
2021 is crazy.
Yeah, it's
2020.
awesome. So, but Ryan, what has been your initial impression of the film festival? Not Oklahoma, the film festival.
Actually, I was about to say I've been pleasantly surprised by Oklahoma.
Yes.
So far, I'm.
the Do we want to talk about the hotel that we stayed in last night?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
That was
because there's
fun.
penguins everywhere. That was great.
Well, okay. So we walk into the lobby and we're
Yeah.
we're literally like carrying our bedding and our suitcases.
Yeah, because you don't go anywhere without your comforter.
That's
Your
true. And my
you
pillow.
fold it in like a prison style like comforter pillow
Thanks
combo.
for telling everyone that.
It's all good.
Yeah, so we walk into the lobby and it's straight up a museum gallery.
Yes.
And we're like, are we in a hotel right
Yeah.
now? Or
'Cause we took-
because there's people like walking around looking at art.
Looking at art and
we're
like
just
dancing
like,
in one part.
We just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, but then like we took a turn, and we were like, "Oh, this must be where the elevators are." But no, it's just like a row of art installation.
Yeah, it was a painting.
Yeah, and then
Gallery,
we're like,
right.
that's when you said, like, "Are we in the right building right now?"
It was
like, I
like
have no
equal
idea.
parts very strange, equal part like incredibly cool.
Yeah, but then
Right.
we had to go up to the security guard and be like, "Hey,
Are we in the right place
where
right
are the
now?
elevators, man?" He's like, "They're right here." I'm like, "Oh, thank God." Okay.
So it was really cool. I mean, and on every floor they have a gallery.
Yes.
So like it's not only in the lobby, but when you go up to your floor, I think this only had like 4 or 5 floors, but they had a
Yeah.
huge like sculpture on our floor.
Yeah,
There was like a
arrows.
12 foot like installation.
Yeah.
And then a separate gallery. It's very unique.
It was awesome.
I told you it was like being in a very high class adult version of a Disney World themed hotel.
That's
right?
what you meant by that. Okay.
Yeah.
I heard Disney, and I was like, I don't know what you mean.
Like
but,
instead of
yeah.
a 20-foot Buzz Lightyear, there's
art installations.
there's
everywhere.
like actual real art.
And then there's like they have their own documentary about how these hotels get made on the TV. That was
Right.
kind of interesting.
And one guy doing a 10-person
yes.
what Beatles song, I guess. Was that
No, it was Queen.
Isn't All You Need Is Love?
No, I thought it was Bohemian Rhapsody.
I have no idea.
It was weird.
It was
very
really hard
strange.
to tell because it was so bad.
But that was the hotel. But then before that, we were at.
Which we like to say the Dead Center.
Yes,
Thank you very
thank you
much.
so much for helping
Very
us
cool.
set that up. That was such an amazing thing to do. Which is crazy. We started this a year ago, and now they're helping us with that kind of thing. But then last night at the Wheeler District, that was a really cool kind of area.
Yeah,
to
again,
have an
like,
outdoor
so
screening.
It was really funny though, because like I went to get food, and my first few experiences in Oklahoma City were a maybe 40-year-old woman on a mini bike
Yes.
crossing the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the Wheeler District was really cool with the Ferris wheel and the
Yeah.
you know.
The outdoor screening of the movie was
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. We're going to be talking about that with Caleb here in a minute. But yeah, like everything that we've done so far and everything that we've seen, they do a really great job of mixing the
Yeah.
virtual and
And we were talking to
in-person.
Kayla last night about the Texas Theater. Like the Tower Theater really reminds me of the Texas Theater.
Yes. Almost up
Absent
to the balcony.
Historical significance of
Murder.
murder.
Yeah, that's
Presidential
it's,
murder.
It's a little bit of difference right.
Right.
there. But yeah, like just the feel of the street that kind of leads up to it, and walking inside, it has that same
Yeah.
nostalgic feel to it. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what it looks like later because there's going to be a happy hour.
Be fun.
In
I'm sure it's gonna be
2.5 hours.
hopping tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got we're gonna go see some shorts at the Rodeo Cinema at 6, and then we will be going to the Booker T. Washington Park for the Pause the Game short film that starts at 8:45.
Yep.
And then the Summer of Soul, which is actually the documentary from Questlove, which will be at 9:30 at Booker T. Washington. So if anybody is in the Oklahoma City area that hears this or sees this, they should definitely go check out this stuff. And even if you don't hear this until we put it out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, your local, somehow you find it on YouTube, this goes till the 20th. This whole festival is virtual till the 20th.
It's probably important to say too, like the awards will be announced tomorrow.
Yes.
So you can definitely check out, the Dead Center website or their Twitter page. Find out what's the cream of the crop of the festival, and you have another week to check it out.
Yeah, and on Instagram it's at deadCenter Film. On Twitter I think it's at deadCenter Film as well. Or you can get your tickets at deadcenterfilm.org.
Yeah.
So like there's a ton of ways to kind of get all your stuff that you
And then
want.
we'll be back on Wednesday with a recap of everything.
Yes.
Of everything we see, and
everything that kind of happens today, the rest of the day.
for the rest of the weekend. For
Yeah,
sure.
and all the way up to Wednesday. So no, this has been such a cool experience so far, and we're just happy to be here, man. Happy to be out and about and not, having to be stuck in the house anymore and being in your bedroom watching all those movies. We didn't watch the movies in your bedroom, but
that'd be weird.
Yeah, that'd be really weird.
We did like cram into a corner to
Yes.
interview people from around the world.
Did we paint the wall by that point?
Oh yeah.
Was the wall painted by?
Yeah, the wall had been painted by the very first interview or by the very first video we did.
Oh,
You want to spend just a couple minutes answering that since we haven't talked to him for a bit?
the Spider-Man rumors?
Yeah, just real quick because I haven't heard the.
I haven't heard them either.
Okay, never mind. Cool.
No, I think it's just kind of like there's supposed to be a trailer, but like every couple days, people keep talking about there's going to potentially be a trailer out.
Every Tuesday they're like, oh, it's coming out this
which,
Tuesday.
Like in the first one was, or not the first one, but the most recent was like, oh, it's gonna be June 1st because that's Tom Holland's birthday. It was like,
please.
No, I hope they put something out soon.
Vinny, we'll
Probably at some point we will review that.
At towards the end of the show, we'll do Q&A.
Yeah,
with the chat. So.
This has been awesome. This is crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Did you think a year ago we'd be doing a live show
Hell no.
in any other state?
No.
No.
I thought we'd just be talking to ourselves
Forever.
for years and years and years.
Forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Just hooking up a mic in a nursing home somewhere.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
BSing about the 50th.
What's that Shia LaBeouf movie with Tom Hardy where they're like,
The brothers?
yeah, they're like three brothers and
I don't
Tom
remember.
Hardy almost
You
gets
love
his,
it. I don't remember
gets
the name
his
of it.
throat cut.
Jesus, Ryan.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what it is. It's like
okay.
the old school movie,
Yeah.
and it's during.
Well, like the movie ends. Spoilers. The movie ends, and all three of them are like living in a cabin together with their wives, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna grow old."
That's like your dream, isn't it?
Oh my god, yeah, it is.
You, me, and Ruxton just living in a cabin.
No, not even a cabin. Just like have a little compound where we all have our own houses.
All right, Ryan. Spoiler alert, that's not happening.
It might.
But I love you.
It might. You wanted to with the Plano thing, so.
The Plano house?
Anyways, we're off base.
We're way off.
Let's bring it back.
But we will bring the guy that is nice enough to join us in our ramblings. He is the host of the Cinematropolis podcast. He is interviewing a lot of great people from the deadCenter Film Festival this
The
week.
official deadCenter podcaster.
We are amazed. It's amazing to have him here. You can check out the Cinematropolis at the Cinematrop on Twitter. Him at CMasters Talk on Twitter as well. It's Caleb Masters. Come on in here, man. We've got this sweet mic for you.
I got my own mic?
You got your own
Holy
mic,
cow.
yeah. So we'll
Right.
scoot on over.
Well,
Caleb, how are you?
I'm good. Alex, Ryan, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man. So what's been going on today? You've gotten more interviews today, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I just posted one with the rapper from Oklahoma City, JB, and then award-winning casting director Chris Freihofer, who actually directed a music video version of one of JB's songs from his recently released album last year.
Nice.
The short film, they put it in the Okie Shorts #1 block as JB Hope. So I had a really great conversation with him, hearing a little bit about like, hey, here's the story of the song. It's very autobiographical. I didn't really know how to do it in a music video, so I went to Chris Freihofer, who's known for casting. Chris is like, hey, I want to take a stab at doing a music video. And it turned out to be a really cool collaboration. So yeah, that just posted about 2 hours ago. So
You've
nice.
been busy this morning. So the Cinematropolis, if you wanted people to know kind of one thing about either how it got started or what it is now, what would that be? What would you want people to really know about what you're doing?
yeah, so I would say there's a couple of key things. One, the idea is we're creating thoughtful conversations on film. So sort of the initial. Like the thing we wanted to do a little differently than what we see a lot was not doing just like movie reviews. We do reviews as part of whether it's the podcast, the cinematic schematic, or we have like a lot of written work on the website that we've done in the past. So that's a component, but we don't want to stop at the review like, hey, this is good or bad, or this person's acting sucks, this direction sucked, or this person was awesome. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
But like, what is this director putting down?
Yes. Yeah.
Either intentionally or not potentially, or what is this actor bringing to the table, that makes it really unique. So it really was a more analysis-driven conversations. And being rooted here in Oklahoma City, we started so I actually started this website with Jacob and Zachary Burns back in 2017. We'd collaborated on a few things here and there, and I was doing some podcasts with a separate entity at the time, and they were like, "Hey, you want to come over? Do you want to launch this website? We want to have like essays. We want to do a podcast." And I was like, "Well, hell yeah, man! Like, let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's talk movies." And we actually launched during deadCenter 2017, that website proper at that time.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this is our I guess this we're coming on our 4th anniversary this year. But yeah, it really is about thoughtful conversations on film, and I would say the other piece really is the community aspect. We are rooted in Oklahoma City. There's a lot of really awesome stuff happening here, and it's really, really exciting to be a part of. Just even being able to talk to the people doing the awesome stuff is really exciting. So part of like my goal is just to really elevate the work that's being done that maybe might not be making huge headlines here and there, both on a local level, but I think with the momentum growing and really getting it out nationally, that hey, Oklahoma City is a great place to make movies. It's a great place to watch movies. It's a great place to talk about movies.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So last night we were at the Prairie Surf Studios, right?
Yep.
Did you have you got a chance to talk to the guy who's behind?
No, not yet. They're on my list though. They better watch out because
Caleb is coming for
They're
you.
They're a little busy these days
Yeah.
trying to get the studio off the ground. But no, I'm super excited about everything they're doing over at Prairie Surf Studio. Started as the Cox Convention Center. I've been to cons there. I've been to concerts there. So when I heard they were doing this downtown, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this a little more later, but the fact that it's a soundstage in downtown Oklahoma City, right next to all these huge developments we've got with the Omni and then the Scissortail Park, really excites me as a person who was really wanting to see the film community thrive here in Oklahoma City.
What's amazing is it's literally across the street from the new Thunder Stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Chesapeake Arena.
Energy Arena. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And that's a crazy thing. Like we're from Dallas. We say that a lot. But like Dallas has never really, it seems like, had an interest in developing their film industry.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like Oklahoma City is making a concerted effort to really develop that. And you've seen it today alone. They had the Prairie Surf Studios co-founders, owners on for a chat, and the mayor of Oklahoma City was on there as well. So
Yes.
he is taking a vested interest in making this a place for film.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. Mayor Holt's been a huge champion of the film industry and all the great things, whether it's Prairie Surf Media or Green Pasture Studio that's out in Spencer, Oklahoma, another recently developed soundstage that's also a part of Green Pastures. Again, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here, but like they're actually not only building a soundstage and providing that resource that's been lacking in Oklahoma historically, they also have an Oklahoma Film and Television Academy where people can go. They don't need a college degree or anything. They can just go to classes to learn a trade, and then they can get placed on a set of a film or a
That's
TV show.
amazing. That's
So
really
yeah, we'll get more to that later. But I have had some really great conversations with some of the folks working on those projects.
That's cool, man.
Such a perfect timing because like everyone's leaving California, and Oklahoma, Texas are right at the top of the list of where people are going.
Yeah. What do you think? Like you said, you started, the website and the podcast around deadCenter 2017. We kind of did, we started Furloughed, I think a month before deadCenter started, but deadCenter was the first thing that kind of really was able for us to get out there. What do you think it is about deadCenter that kind of sparks that for people, podcasters or journalists or bloggers?
Well, I think the thing that really has always really stuck out to me about deadCenter, and I keep saying Oklahoma City. I want to be careful because there's also a great film community in Tulsa, and what's really been great over the last, I would say, at least as long as I've been participating, is seeing those two communities really come together. I think there's actually been a recent commission formed from a number of different organizations who are saying, both in Tulsa and the Oklahoma City area, to really just work together to bring more work into the state. So I want to clarify there. But deadCenter specifically, and I think the reason I sort of planted my flag, I'm not necessarily, fun fact, I'm not a native Oklahoman. I've lived here since 2009.
Okay.
But the reason I sort of planted my flag here is the people and the community here is really tight-knit. Everyone wants to work together. They want to make this a better place to live. Oklahoma City, outside of the film industry, has just continually developed and got exciting. And people are working crazy hard to make this a better place to live.
That's awesome.
And to grow as a person and a professional. So that's like just Oklahoma City in general. Oklahoma City and deadCenter specifically, that same sort of like attitude I've seen in the film scene. Like a lot of homegrown filmmakers here just working
Yeah.
together. Hey, I'm working on this new project. You need some work, or hey, if you're a director, hey, I got this script and I wrote this with you in mind. If you're an actor, so it's people working really hard together to make it a better place, make it a sustainable place for people who want to actually make, a career in making films.
Yeah.
So that community aspect, and I think deadCenter is a huge component of that, because this is like, once a year, it's like, hey guys, we've all been working crazy hard. Everyone's doing their own thing. Let's celebrate the films. And that's the other thing. The festival really celebrates the filmmakers, the hard work, in a way that I find just really, really exciting. And it feels like, unlike some of the larger film festivals, and it's no knock on any of those, Sundance is incredible. South by Southwest is unmatched, all amazing. But the thing about it here is I really feel like the community and people wanting to help each other out with projects really just separates it from the rest of the crop of fall festivals I've been to.
But it sounds like there's a lot of people who just like come together and are able to kind of like see each other. Like you might see each other in passing, but especially over the last year, you really haven't been seeing each other. So it's like everybody can kind of come together and be like, "Oh, hey!"
That party last night, there were people I hadn't seen in 2 years. And it's great just because the pandemic shuts down. I'm not having people in my studio to do podcasts anymore. And people aren't able to work on as many films together. It's again the parties are a really great piece of that. It's just getting to see everyone.
Parties.
The accessibility for deadCenter is also unmatched. You try to contact South by Southwest or Sundance. I mean, you're gonna have a difficult time actually getting access to interviews or to the people there. But here, it's not only did they do a great job in 2020 with making it online, and so anybody across the world can access the projects. It was fairly accessible to get involved as a podcast last year.
Yeah, I know. And one thing, our friend Steven Tyler here, who really kind of runs a tight crew, I guess, tight shift here at Tower Theater Recording, and with his company, mostly Harmless Media. His role as the director of technology, I just blown away last year, because they between March and June they shifted to a fully online festival, and that was before we even knew stuff about the virus, really. So it was like that, there was that first month people didn't know, like, can I even see other people? It was crazy. They were able to plan all of that, make the shift successful, and make it more. And I think one of the sort of outcomes of that was, hey, this is actually now way more accessible to more people than it ever has been before.
Well, the amazing thing is they did it completely remotely too. I mean, everyone was just doing this from home.
Yeah. And it was such a thing where, like, not only were they able to get all these different movies just from Oklahoma, but then it was from all over the country, and then all of a sudden everybody was accessible to not only be like, oh, well, okay, my movie isn't getting picked up in this part of the country, but I can go to deadCenter now and have it be picked up. And there's just so much more opportunity here than I think was, I don't know, maybe before, but this has just been such a great experience for us, and we can't wait to be coming back year after year after year. And I think that's probably the same way for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like this year is the first year that the Cinematropolis and the Cinemax Mag podcast have been an official partner of deadCenter, so it's been really exciting. Just because we're able to work even more closely together, getting plugged in with you guys. I might not have known about you guys if I wasn't going directly to the festival. So anyway, it's been a really exciting time to be podcasting and sharing stories, and I think for Oklahoma Film, best is yet to come still.
As for podcasting, this is something that we usually don't talk about too much, but do you think that this is kind of where podcasting is going, where you've partnered with deadCenter and you're like the official podcast? Do you see more festivals doing that, where they say like, hey, let's have an official like podcast?
I think everyone's going to want an official podcast.
Yeah, like, and that's such an interesting thing to kind of think about in the future, because I don't know the right answer to this, but how many festivals are there in the United States? Like,
there's got to be hundreds.
Hundreds of them. So like, if you could have it to where you'd be like, hey, like what we're doing, we're just doing a live show at a festival, like we'll come and do that once, or I'm going to go partner with a couple other festivals. Is that something that you've thought about doing in the future? Or not to put you on the spot, but like...
I mean, hey man, I'm all ears. I'm all ears for opportunities, especially if it relates to film, television, pop culture. That's always been the passion of mine. So any way I can help elevate those stories is welcome opportunity. I'm really, really excited to be doing it for deadCenter this year. And sorry, not to be to sort of like toot your own horn sort of thing, but I say
we do it
I
all the
say
time.
well I say I think everyone's going to podcast because I've been working in podcasting for full time for about to hit 5 years here soon.
Yeah, man.
And the embrace of the media by brands, by organizations has taken off. So that's not me saying that as like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to say that. I'm saying it's just a trend we're seeing industry wide. It's like a lot of, it's like YouTube. Whenever YouTube came out, it was like really sort of the wild, wild west until like brands are like, hey, we can monetize this or we can leverage this new media to spread our message. And I think podcast is in that same spot right now.
Was there a film festival in California that was announced that they were going to have? It was like the Venice Film Festival or something like that.
I think it was Tribeca was going to do it as well, but they're going to have like a whole podcasting section of the festival. So like,
awesome.
That's where this is all moving. And honestly, full transparency, I asked that question because that excites the hell out of us because it's like, okay, how can we kind of grow this and do more? And you, like, how can you grow this and do more? It's by doing that type of thing of getting the name out there and partnering with those different peoples and just being able to, and the flip side of it, we are able to meet more people in person than just at home, like interviewing people. So like,
yeah, you guys have had some great interviews on your show.
Yeah, and so it's just like, but like last night we were meeting with you, and then we were meeting your friends, and so it's like, being able to do that type of thing and going out and doing that is instrumental in growing something like this. And I think that's what makes podcasting really, really interesting moving
But it's
forward.
so much different than like the traditional winner take all. Like on this platform we can have this like kind of cross pollination. We're on each other's shows. Like there's just abundance of opportunities to get your shows out to the audience instead of having limited slots on TV or having limited slots in theaters. Like there's no kind of like limit to how many podcasts can be out there.
Yeah.
How many people can be covering a film festival, you know.
And that's so cool moving forward. Like,
yeah, sky's the limit. Can't wait until all the festivals are on TikTok because you know it's coming. So just wait.
will you be reviewing movies from a film festival on TikTok in the future?
Hey man, all I'll say is I've been trying to figure out how to do movie reviews on TikTok in a way that would be interesting, but also me. And there's an opportunity there. That's all I'm saying. You guys should dig into it.
We're all going to be speaking Mandarin on TikTok.
Yeah.
Reviewing Fast 9.
Reviewing Fast 9 in Mandarin on TikTok. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll be getting
I
into
see.
Fast 9 later for sure. But your initial impressions from what you've seen from deadCenter, what has been your favorite movie so far, or kind of what are your initial impressions so far of the festival?
Yeah, I mean, this year's festival is great. And I think it's really exciting to me is last year was fully virtual. There were a couple of social distance friendly events. Actually, we had one across the street from the Tower Theater in the parking lot. They did like a big pop-up blow-up screening.
That's cool.
I think there was a couple. There was still a screening in I think downtown Park, if I remember correctly. So like there was a couple of these like larger events, but like 99% virtual.
Yeah.
The thing that's exciting about this year is, hey, we went to a party last night.
Yes.
The thing about we've already talked about a little bit, like just the being able to catch up with people you haven't seen in a while, being able to chat with friends, being able to meet new people you haven't met. You know, that's a lot harder to happen organically when you're doing like Zoom calls or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that really, really excites me about this year's festival. That was the first time I've been in the Prairie Surf studio. So super exciting to see exactly what that's looking like. So overall, like the experience has been awesome. Film selection, We're 1000. That was a fun one.
Okay, we talked about this a little bit last night, and you were like, "Let's get into it tomorrow." What you said the pacing was kind of weird.
So I want to step back. I really like the documentary. I'm a huge Foo Fighters fan, and I think the story they were telling is incredible.
Yeah.
So again, for listeners or viewers, I should say, who aren't familiar, the documentary is essentially about how thousands of fans got together to jam out to Foo Fighters songs, just for like it was just a thing they did. They got together,
Yeah.
and then they got the attention of the Foo Fighters, and then the Foo Fighters did a whole concert. Anyway, sort of a spoiler, but anyway, it was a really beautiful celebration.
And Dave Grohl's got like a boot on as
Yeah.
he's like playing.
I noticed that
Yeah.
the boot cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. I love it because there's been some complicated conversations happening online over the last couple of years related to like fandoms and are they actually a good thing? All these toxic people, and then so it's really nice that like, especially if you're on the internet way too much like I am, you're like, hey, look, fans can come together and make something beautiful and wonderful and inspirational that's just good and it's fulfilling and it's like almost spiritual.
Yeah.
Separate from people who hate certain Star Wars movies online. So
Well, and I was gonna be like, well, and like other than like Zack Snyder fans who like raise money for suicide prevention, but then do like crazy stuff. But
that's a complicated onion to peel back.
Yeah.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, for
I'd
sure.
love to talk with you about it though.
We'll definitely talk about that in the future. But yeah, like that fandom really came together and did something incredible, and this documentary has all of the insight into how that kind of went down and the genesis of Fabio, the main guy, wanting to do this and to get the Foo Fighters to come to town. And I thought that message was really, really cool. Like all these people could come together and kind of enjoy their love for music, and also people who are doing it as like a side hobby. Like they're, I think there was like software developers and a guy who was like a marketer. So like all these people who have jobs already, but they're trying to make their hobby their love.
The vast majority of the people there were just, they did this on the side as a hobby.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like maybe some of them are trying to go pro, but like a lot of them, this is the thing that keeps them going. You know, it keeps them going, and like seeing those people come together and make like probably what I assume are going to be lifelong friendships from this one event. That's really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Like there was a scene where a guy's one of the folks his parents saw him on TV when they were covering it, and his parents, he just like the story he told of how his parents reacted, like they were screaming like, "Oh my gosh, you're on TV!" I was like, I'm sitting over here being like, "Oh God, that's really sweet."
Yeah, you're crying.
And I cried. I'm misty-eyed.
You're
Crying
my bad.
Misty-eyed, yeah.
They even had like kids out there jamming out on drums,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
And that's the cool thing, like getting people who it's like, oh, it's a little kid, but like having that little kid feel like he's a part of that community and he belongs in there with them is a really, really cool message as well. What was kind of your overall take on the movie then?
Yeah, so this is kind of the trick when reviewing documentaries, in my opinion. There are awesome documentaries about things I don't care at all about, but because they're compelling, the way they tell the story is so compelling that you feel like you have to care, and that's a great documentary.
Yes.
There are also documentaries that are not as, I should say, the approach to storytelling is not as sophisticated. Is probably a better word for it. I don't say it's bad. It's just it's clear that it's not got the same touch as like some of the best documentaries, but the topic is so powerful that I don't really care. Honestly, I would say the vast majority of documentaries fall on the latter. Again, that doesn't mean they're not good or bad. It's just so I would say like I thought the pacing was weird because I felt like it was gonna end. It was like almost like Return to the King. I was like, all right, Foo Fighters showed up. We're gonna roll credits. People are crying. Fabio's getting to crowd surf. It's beautiful. The Mohawk guy's getting called on stage. I was like, this is great.
And then telling the drummer to like get off stage, like so.
Yeah, but they added like a good 20-25 minutes to the documentary. Yeah. Which the whole like that sequence of 20-25 minutes would have been amazing as like an end credits background of them doing
like the follow up stuff. Like you play that in the like picture in picture on the left or the right while the credits roll. Yeah. But I mean that said, I don't think it like ruins the documentary. I think that the story is so compelling. But I would just say from a pacing point, I was like, I thought it climaxed really early, and then I was like, you're kind of just like waiting for is there going to be a twist? Is there going to be are the Foo Fighters going to, I don't know.
Just be like, no, we're not coming. Yeah, I kind of did. I was like, in my head, I was kind of like, it'd be kind of messed up if they just completely shut them out. But then it was like, no, like they came, like they did their thing. Well, not even just that, they were flown out to Walla Walla, which is a great city name.
I really want to go to Walla Walla.
Walla Walla, Washington.
I just want to be able to say I did that.
Yeah, just I've been to Walla Walla, Washington. That's such a great city name.
It's a great t-shirt.
Yes.
I've been to Walla Walla, Washington.
But they go there and they get to meet the Foo Fighters, and then it's like, we're definitely coming. And then like they immediately cut to them backstage in Italy.
For the concert.
And I guess like that is a weird kind of like, oh, okay, we're already here. So, like, you spend all this time on the setup of them doing the song, and then it's like immediately like they're there in Italy. So it did feel kind of
also the
rushed
kind
at the end.
of weird thing they did was the first half of the movie was actually just a recap of a YouTube documentary that they did about the original concert, right? So like half the documentary was basically like a redo of this video that had already gotten tens and tens of millions of views online. So it's kind of like probably a difficult documentary to construct, given that the majority of the story has already been told, in a major way.
Yeah. I mean, I think I always goes back to, I would say overall I'm very net positive on it. I also thought it was a great experience being able to watch that in the Wheeler District, big screen, Ferris wheel right behind it. After the film was done, I went and rode the Ferris wheel with my girlfriend, so great experience there. We could have been like a double date.
Yeah.
There we go.
Like those two guys look a lot like each other. Hold on.
But you could see the Oklahoma City skyline in the background. So actually, I'd say beautiful evening. The experience is great. And again, I think I like the documentary overall, but it's just that I've always found documentaries a challenging thing to review unless I find it both poorly constructed and the thing it's about to be bad or dumb or trash.
Yeah,
that's where those are the documentaries I just like, and I pretty much just don't like.
Boy, do I have a documentary for you. The turtle one.
Pitch it to me.
Oh my lord. It's called Snowy.
Snowy.
It's here at deadCenter.
15 documentary about a pet turtle.
I mean, listen, guys.
It's here at deadCenter. They're showing it here.
My octopus teacher just won
True.
Academy Award. So
True.
Honestly, a 15-minute documentary about a pet turtle could be pretty compelling.
I was watching it.
Is his name Michelangelo? Is there a turtle that's turtle's time?
No, the turtle's name is Snowy.
You already said that.
Yeah. No, I said the documentary is called Snowy, but the turtle's name is also Snowy, and it's literally about the documentarians used to go to this guy's uncle's house, and every Thanksgiving they would go downstairs, and the turtle would just be sitting there in its case in the windowsill, and they'd be like, "Huh, this turtle must like want more," and then they'd just leave. And like every year they do that, and then finally one year they came back, and they're like, "We're gonna make a documentary about like could this turtle want more?" And they like go to a turtle psychologist.
Yeah, it was actually really hard.
See, you guys are selling me on it. I don't know if that's your goal here, but I'm sold.
We can sell like this documentary, but then
I know the word turtle psychologist.
They go to like England and like.
See, these are the best documentaries though. These are the stories you're like, there's turtle psychologists. Yeah. What? Yeah. That's great. They make a story out of something where you're like, wait.
I found it kind of interesting. You were like, this just sounds real. Did I show you all of it?
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah.
It was just like kind of heartbreaking and kind of like, okay, this is about a pet turtle, a family turtle, and it's like literally done in the like 8th grade school project style kind of where like they're literally interviewing their dad about why he loves his turtle.
Which like the dad is a great guy. Like the dad legitimately seems like a really good dude. There's one scene, and should I say it and like explain how this scene goes, or
it's the scene I'm thinking about, probably not.
Okay,
but
there's one scene where it was not what I was expecting whatsoever, and it cracks up the dad for a good like 2 to 3 minutes. So if you watch it, just wait for that scene about 7 minutes in.
Again, you guys have only. I know you start off sounding like, oh, this is gonna be a bad documentary, but everything you said has like made me really curious.
Make you want to check it. Go check it out. I would say check it out. I enjoyed it. It's a kind of an uplifting and very interesting take on what animals want, and you as a caretaker for an animal should do. And even though you think you're doing enough, you could do more almost.
Okay.
So it's very interesting.
And the documentary is called Snowy?
Yes.
Okay, so Snowy, and it's playing.
It's here at deadCenter. Yeah.
Okay, so I imagine. I assume it's probably in the virtual film festival as well.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So I saw it at. It wasn't Sundance.
It's South by Southwest, right?
Yeah, South by Southwest.
Okay. Awesome.
So and it was there, and I was like, I kind of want to. And it was at another film festival that we covered a couple months ago, and I'm blanking on the name now. And they sent it to me. But I checked it out, and I was like, I kind of like this. Like, this is very interesting. So check it out. It's on the deadCenter platform. So
Passes still available.
Yes, deadcenterfilm.org. But as far as like documentaries go, and this is going to be something I did not think about asking, but now I am. When you watch it, and you see somebody in the movie and you're just like, I really do not like that person. Does that make you like the documentary more because it makes you feel something, or does it take away from
Like, if I don't like so it's a real person in a
Yes.
documentary, I don't like them. So it would probably depend on how the documentary frames this person.
Okay.
Is this a main character? Okay. Do I dislike the main character? Is the documentary frame this main character I don't like as the good guy or the hero, the protagonist, so to speak? I'm probably going to get real annoyed. Now, if they frame him as a protagonist who's like, if they play into the reason I don't like him, but that's part of the thing, it can totally work.
Okay.
It's all about how they position it.
Yeah, and it's the one that is coming to mind right now. It was that Father Soldier Son on Netflix that we watched last year about the guy who I think he lost a leg.
Oh right, he came back and
Yeah, and he obviously had PTSD and he had lost his leg, but then it is set over I think 12 years, and you see him kind of pushing his son into being the military, and it's this
almost to the point of being kind of abusive about it.
Yeah, and then it's just this cycle of all the lineage of this family go into the military, and then one after another have mental health problems from it, and then at the very end of it, his son is now in the army, I think it was, and then he's in his barrack playing PS4, and he's I'm really depressed right now, this is not what I really wanted, and that's how the movie ends, and it's just
wow,
it's
powerful.
Oh wow, okay. And it's I don't think it's intentional that you're not supposed to like this guy, the father, but the way that he acts and the way what he went through, it's just wow, you kind of pushed your son into what you
see.
have to...
Okay, now I haven't watched the documentary.
Yeah.
The way you're describing it, though, if the documentary is doing its job right, it's very much trying to, and maybe it's not necessarily on. You could point to that, but if it's a generational thing, I think it's sort of highlighting this. It sounds like highlighting the perpetual cycle, that passes down to each generation,
And I think that's what I think...
Which I think is really interesting.
No, it is for sure, because it was hey, my dad did it, and then I was expected to do it. Now I'm expecting my son to do it.
Yeah.
But then it's and this is not fair for me to put this on this guy, but it was kind of hey, if you went through this hell and these mental problems, at some point, how do you break that cycle? How do you break and kind of move your family into a more mentally healthy place by not, because this isn't working.
Right.
How do we, but that's the expectation, that's the expectation for that family, and it just continues on.
And it gives you such incredibly mixed emotions, because everything they're doing throughout the generations is for the right reason. They're doing it for the love of country, to serve the country, but it's just a apparent never-ending cycle of the former generation pushing the younger generation into this role, and just horrible things coming of it via PTSD or being losing life or limb. And it's kind of sad, and it's kind of you don't really know how to end that cycle, because the younger generation will always feel that obligation to step into the shoes of having to serve the country.
Yeah, see, now you guys are really sold me on this one. I have heard of it, I have not seen it myself, but you're selling me on it because I just find that idea, and you could even apply that same logic to outside the military, where it's how many sons, especially oldest sons, do the thing their dad did because their dad did it,
For sure, yeah.
I know a lot of people like that.
Our brother, he's really into meteorology, and it was because our dad was really into meteorology. He got that love from our dad. So it's not even necessarily what they did, it's what they're really interested in that kind of molds you into what you're interested in as well.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't think we would be talking about
We're getting deep.
Netflix
documentaries, no.
But we both had this oh my god, the story is so complex, and it's just harrowing, and it's a crazy documentary, but at the end of it you're kind of I don't know if I really like that guy, and that's why I asked, because it's such a tough thing when you are watching a documentary, even though you think wow, that was really well done, but at the end of it you're kind of I I agree with what that person was doing.
Oh yeah, no, and again, I think it's all about how the documentary frames them, because maybe they're trying to get you, maybe they don't want you, or maybe they want you to interrogate why you don't like him.
Yeah.
You know? Or maybe they're not framing it either way. You personally feel that way, but then it's like it's really having you pause and say, well, why don't I like that guy? What's
Yeah.
going on? And then you can kind of really dig into, like, I think the meat of hopefully what story they're trying to tell, which again I think is a sign of a really strong documentary.
That's a perfect point, because from our point of view as civilians, we're like, okay, this seems wrong. This seems like a not positive thing to be doing to your son. But if you're a veteran, or if you have that background, you could have a completely different paradigm that this is, the perfectly right thing to do. This is the morally correct thing to point your son or daughter into.
Which that's crazy.
That applies to like every single type of documentary, just like the Civil War documentary we saw this week. Like, we have a completely different view on that subject matter rather than like an African American family would.
Which, and to give context, then do you have Peacock?
I don't pay for Peacock personally. No.
Okay, I think is there free?
There's a free version with ads.
Possibly,
currently.
yeah.
There's a documentary that comes out Thursday called Civil War, or What Do We Know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, who do we think we are?
And Who Do We Think We Are? And it's executive produced by Brad Pitt, and it's
Brad Pitt makes a hell of a producer, guys. Am I allowed to swear on this, by the way?
yes. No, so like that comes out Thursday, and we talked to the director this past week, and that will be coming out Wednesday.
Awesome.
But check out that documentary, because it's crazy. She goes across.
It's one of the best analysis of like our current issues with race and
Because it's focusing on how we basically teach and talk about Civil War and Reconstruction, and like and how that like kind of goes into what's going on today. And it's some of the stuff that's said on there and like discovered is crazy. So
Well, here in the state of Oklahoma, we just have memorialized the centennial, the Tulsa Race Massacre.
Yes,
Centennial
yeah.
Commission. The 100th anniversary here just a couple weeks ago, so no strangers to that. It actually tied into, there's a really great short documentary playing at the festival called Black Owned here at deadCenter, and it hones in on not necessarily that history, more like how black business owners in Tulsa, which has been historically segregated, have been able to thrive in the city and overcome those challenges.
that's awesome.
It definitely seems like it's in these are really important things that are being discussed, and I'm really glad they're finally being talked about pretty widespread.
Yeah.
I don't want to say this is just getting the zeitgeist, because obviously systemic racism has been around since the founding of the country. So,
So
There's been a bit of a we don't have to get too far into it, but I keep saying that there's like a sea change of kind of perspective since last summer.
yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So when you, this is getting way off topic, but when you were in school, were you ever taught about what happened in Tulsa?
No. So, context I mentioned earlier, I'm not born and raised Oklahoman. So I actually had my middle and high school education in the state of Indiana. So absolutely no clue.
Yeah, neither did we.
But I will say though, a couple things I do want to add on that. I did hear about it before Watchmen, essentially, which is when I feel like about
Everybody else
most
did.
people figure out, like, they're like, wait, this really happened?
Yeah.
No, and I mean, here's the thing, like, it was buried. Like, that history was covered up because I have so many friends here who were born and raised, A+ in history class, never heard of it.
Oh no.
Never heard of it. I had the fortune, I had one of my former professors in college, the summer after we graduated, he had a colleague of his who was doing an art exhibit in Tulsa over it. And at the time, they were still calling it the Tulsa Race Riots. That was when they started to change. When even he said, when he was his friend was opening this exhibition, he was like, they call them riots. It was not a riot. Yeah. So that was when I learned about it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. What was interesting though is I thought, I'm just not from Oklahoma. I guess I just didn't know. I had never known about it. What I did not realize until Watchmen, essentially, especially, and then going into last summer, was how few people in Oklahoma actually knew about it, and it's not in textbooks or it's boiled down to like a really short, like, one day. Here's the thing that happened, and you'll move on. So anyway, yeah, it's been really interesting just to hear Oklahomans and friends who have been kind of come to this realization, like, wow. And it is a monumental historic event, the biggest, like, genocide on American soil in American history. Anyway, I'm not an expert on this, but I just find all of it interesting. And again, while it's a very traumatic and sad thing, I'm really glad it's being talked about so we can sort of have those conversations.
How do you feel, and this is the last question, unless I have so many questions that just pop in my mind sometimes, but with this specific subject, because I had never heard about it, he had, and when we watched that episode of Watchmen, I was like, what in the world? Like, I've never heard about this. How do you feel about a TV show or a limited series or a movie informing people about significant historic events like that? Because I think some people are like, oh, you only heard about it from Watchmen, like, you, but, like, I think that is part of something that movies or TV shows can do really well, is remind people of these types of events.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the power of pop culture, right? I think it is the ability, and I should say cinema and television, is the ability to take stories and frame them in a way that people can understand.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we've been watching war movies for how long, you know? So for them to cover a different type of story, but similarly has similar historical importance, I think is one of the best and most powerful things film can do, because it's, hey, here's the thing that happened. It's not great, but we're glad you're learning about it.
Yes.
If it was a documentary on PBS, you could just as easily admit it. But when it's like, oh, it's part of HBO's hit show Watchmen that everyone's talking about, you know, you're like, oh, I'm curious, did this really happen? And then you start digging. It kind of like sort of plants the seeds and lays the foundation for that curiosity. And hopefully you're doing your own research and having conversations with people in your life about it. So anyway, I say it to say, I think that is one of the most important, powerful things film and television can do, is frame historical events in a way that will help us as a culture reckon or grow or learn from.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty brave of the producers and the showrunners of those shows to do, because you know there's going to be a huge portion of the population that is going to see it as very controversial to get that history out there. So I'm really glad that, you know.
Or they view it as like woke culture or something.
Well, yeah,
like
or
that,
you know,
like
there's a reason that it wasn't
forcing
in
it
Oklahoma textbooks. There's a reason that, like, you know, most people in the country have never heard of it. It's because it's been suppressed, and you know, HBO did take up a lot of backlash. So it's really nice to see them, you know, not only HBO but a lot of different people like stepping up to the plate and like kind of infusing the true history into their media.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I think what's cool about that is, I mean, I'm a big Damon Lindelof fan, so I've been following him since Lost, but hearing him talk about, this is not my story to tell, but I really want to do this Watchmen story, and I read Ta-Nehisi Coates' A Case for Reparations, and was so compelled, I was like, all right, this story needs to be told. Maybe I'm not the one who's going to be telling it, but how can I get the writing group together, people who actually have some perspective here to tell the story? Again, kudos to him, but also, again, what I want to say, though, is that idea came from a writer who wrote a really influential work that influenced someone who had the ability to make it happen, you know? And again, so I think that's just, we now, 20 years from now, someone's going to look back at Watchmen and say, hey, this is when I learned about this, or hey, this is a thing that happened. How can I work this idea into my movie or television show script? Anyway, I think it's all really, really important stuff. It's an important piece of history. But I say that to say, there's some cool documentaries playing in deadCenter Film Festival.
Well, that's kind of the past of, you know, Oklahoma. But what do you, as far as like the future of Oklahoma film, the Oklahoma film industry, you were talking about it a little bit earlier. There is a lot of really kind of cool stuff happening. What do you think the future of the Oklahoma film industry is, and what has you really excited about that?
Yeah, so I should just start by saying I in no way represent the Oklahoma Film Music Office in any official capacity, or and I'm not speaking on behalf of filmmakers. This is just me as a guy who's involved in the Oklahoma film scene, kind of having an opinion. So I just want to be clear about that. But it seems like there was recently a large tax incentive that was had passed. So we're seeing a huge increase in the amount of tax credits or financial what we would say financial resources here for filmmakers, both in state and out of state. So that sort of support from the Oklahoma leaders is pretty powerful, and it's really setting us up for at least another decade of super exciting film projects. It's really making Oklahoma a more attractive place for a lot of projects, especially as you guys noted earlier. A lot of people are leaving the West Coast. They're moving out of Los Angeles post-pandemic, and New York as well. So I think my opinion is not based on any insider knowledge, but just seeing the trends I'm seeing, it really looks like we could be like the next sort of like Georgia or Atlanta sort of thing, if things go as well. We a couple other things I want to hit on. The tax incentive was a really big piece. By the way, this is all going to be discussed on an episode that's dropping my podcast on Monday. We did a really cool keynote presentation with the Oklahoma Film Music Office, Green Pasture Studios, and then one of the producers, or I should say coordinators on Mickey Reese's new film, Agnes. So that's me posting on Monday. I think we may actually have a video version of that coming out as well. But anyway, we're talking about like why is Oklahoma a great place to make a movie in 2021. So tax incentive was a big part of it. The other big piece, Prairie Surf Studio, Green Pasture Studio. For a long time, Oklahoma did not have like a sound stage and some of the resources that come along with that. So it was really hard for out-of-state projects to come and do full-blown productions here. Well, now those resources are here, especially Prairie Surf's right downtown, heart of Oklahoma City. You get a really nice hotel, so if you've got really all-star talent, you can act on a stage, go to the hotel. There's lots of restaurants. It just makes it a nice, easy, convenient location. And again, what I mentioned earlier, Green Pasture Studios also has this Oklahoma Film and Television Academy, where they're actually trying to develop resources, like people resources here, train up people to do the job in the film industry they want to do, and provide a viable career path. They were saying something, and again, it's on the podcast, misquote. I highly encourage you to shameless plug, Cinematic Schematics, subscribe. You'll hear this full conversation from people who actually are working every day running this stuff. I'm just the guy who's listening and find it interesting. But
we're in Texas, yeah. Go listen to this.
No. So I'm saying, I'm just telling you what they're going to say on the podcast. But it's essentially like they're developing resources, training programs. And they were saying that there's something like an 80% placement rate from people who went through their academy to film production. So I don't know about you guys, but 80%.
So let's go, right?
That's not in most career fields. That's pretty awesome. So so it just seems like between the resources being developed here internally, along with those tax incentives, in addition to the trends we're seeing of people moving out of like those historical hubs like LA, not totally, obviously, they're always going to be LA, but there are people looking elsewhere to do their projects. And the other thing I would say too, I mean, Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's Apple TV Plus project, is filming here currently out in Pawhuska, and it's like a $200 million budgeted movie. I believe, again, I'm in no official capacity for any of these organizations, but I believe, if I heard correctly, it's the largest film production in Oklahoma's history. So that's another, just a lot of positive things that are happening. The future's not certain, but it's certainly looking like we're heading in a really positive direction.
Great momentum right now.
With you mentioned everybody out in like Atlanta and Georgia. Do you think that, because obviously people are leaving California, maybe New York, but do you think that there is the potential for a lot of the productions that were going to be in Georgia and everything that is now happening there, or has happened in the last year or so, some of that could come here to Oklahoma?
I'm not a fortune teller. I decline to answer. But I will just say, the trends, I've heard some of the rumblings of some projects leaving Georgia for various reasons. They're going to be looking elsewhere. I will say this: the Academy Award-winning Minari, I believe, was actually planned to be filmed in Georgia originally, if I recall correctly, and they, for reasons, decided to film it here.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that was filmed here at all.
Yeah, it was in Tulsa, wasn't it? Or
outside Tulsa.
Yeah. So I knew it was somewhere in the area. But with I'm going to get into something kind of fun for a second. Do you think before F9 they'll put up the Cannes logo?
I would love to
Special
be.
selection.
I would love to be at Cannes just so I can see the Cannes audience watching
Dude,
Fast 9.
I cannot believe that they like are actually doing that.
I mean, hey, at this point, Cannes they'll take it. I mean, it's like we're getting back to normal. We're getting big blockbusters back. I mean, I would watch Fast 9 at the Cannes Film Festival.
Absolutely.
But-
Just to like watch the other people's faces.
In a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel is having himself a great old time.
Oh yeah. I cannot believe they did that.
I can't believe it. It's wild.
It's when I saw it on Twitter, I was like, this has to be a joke. This is not real. But yeah, it's real. They're actually putting that into a
Yeah.
huge film festival.
Fast Furious franchise. We were talking about it last night. It's
Yeah.
a guilty pleasure of mine. We can talk about it if you want to, but this has got Justin Lin back in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Rim shot.
After one very bad entry and one solid but not as good of entry since he left after the 6th one. So,
No, I'll be checking it out for sure. I just want, if they actually like cross over with Jurassic World, we were talking about this last week, they have to have a Velociraptor driving one of the cars. That has to happen at some point in the series.
Charlize Theron with the Raptors
Yeah.
versus Dom Toretto.
I'd watch it.
Does he get the T-Rex? Who gets the T-Rex?
No, he would. The Rock gets the T-Rex.
Okay.
For sure.
The
The Rock on top of the T-Rex. Could you imagine?
I mean, I can actually
Yeah,
because this is the world we live in, but it would be amazing.
It'd be insane.
That's gonna be how he, instead of coming down an escalator like Trump, The Rock's just gonna ride out on a T-Rex to announce his presidency.
Tyrese Gibson's on the back of a Triceratops.
I mean, that poster alone, I feel like would make $20 million. Just the poster of The Rock on a T-Rex.
Yeah.
It would blow somebody's mind. Like, no, they absolutely have to do it. Universal, why are you not paying us to come up with your ideas? All three of us. We'll just come up with
Yeah,
the
totally.
the most ridiculous
They
ideas
don't make,
possible.
they've already made like $200 million in China on Fast 9.
Yeah, dude, it's so stupid. But Oklahoma, it's
Listen, let's just pause for a second, guys. I know the joke online was we all thought Tenet was going to be the movie that saved cinema. Christopher Nolan was going to save us, and that backfired
and might have like completely
cataclysmically.
screwed them. Yeah.
But you know what? I just watched the first Fast and the Furious a couple weeks ago. Like, even as I turned it on, thought I wasn't going to watch it.
Yeah.
It just be on, and lo and behold, me and the girlfriend got through the whole thing.
Heck yeah.
And I can't tell you how wild it was. Like, wait, there's two thoughts that crossed my head when I was watching this. I was like, one, there's no way this is the same universe
Right?
as Fast and any of the other ones after 5.
Yeah.
There's no way. That was thought number one. Thought number two is if I had time traveled back to myself 20 years ago and said the film that's going to save cinema is going to be Fast 9, the 9th entry in this franchise that Vin Diesel is calling the first entry in a trilogy that will conclude the saga. His words. This would be the thing that would save cinema. Would be the Fast and Furious franchise.
Not just that, you would have had to gone back and gone. The movie that will save cinema is the 9th entry with John Cena.
That's right.
As the villain.
John Cena didn't exist 20 years ago,
Was
did
he
he?
not in the WWE at that point?
He probably was, actually.
Yeah.
But like
He probably
low,
was, yeah.
low tier, like WWE somewhere. Like he is going to be the one that saves it a lot. And they're going to bring. Not only will they be bringing back Han, but he'll be brought back from the dead. It would have blown.
You'd also have to tell yourself that in the same month, the best boxer in the world is going to go 8 rounds with a YouTube star.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
explain to yourself what YouTube is.
And TikTok.
Yeah.
And like Vine, like in that something called Vine is now dead.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
That would have been amazing, actually.
But
I
you
love
know,
that.
we live in this is the world we live in. We made it happen, guys.
Yes, we did. Us specifically.
Someone's writing a fan fiction 20 years ago about the future, and this is how it turned out.
Yeah, and it just somehow became real. No, so deadCenter is going for another week.
Yes. Unfortunately, Fast 9, well, depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective,
Yeah.
Fast 9 is not playing at deadCenter this year.
No. We
But-
could like go set up our own showing of like or is it Fast 8? What do they
Well,
call
they just keep calling it, it's the 8th one is Fate of the Furious.
Fate of the Furious, my
Yes.
bad.
That's the only one. That's one of the only ones that has a real title, though. The title. It's,
That sounds like a documentary about a pack of rabid wolves.
Yeah. Fate of
but see the
Furious.
Fate, the 8, the
Yeah,
poster though.
Right,
Come on.
right. Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
You're trying to bring her back to Dead Center. I'm
Yeah,
not sure how,
somehow. But I love this conversation about Fast Furious. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Greatest sequel name of all time: Too Fast, Too Furious. I think they knocked it out of the park.
Listen, pretty close, but you know what? It's pretty close, but I think there's one better.
Okay.
Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Oh, that is.
I mean, come on, guys.
Like,
It's accurate. It's on brand. I laugh every time I say it. I mean,
how like whenever I think of like them coming up with those names, I just think of the meeting where it was like, all right, what are we calling this sequel? And it's just like Die Harder, screw it, and just like walk out of the meeting like 5 minutes in.
I can just imagine like a German in the back of the room stepping out of the shadow and it's Die Harder.
Like how do you think that meeting went? Where it was just like Die 2, Die Harder.
listen, I really wish we could video record all these pitch meetings and
Yes.
then post them on YouTube after the movie's released, because I really would love to be a fly on the wall for most of these.
Yeah, no, it's insane. But Dead Center.
Yeah, we got off track there a little bit.
No, that's the fun part of this podcast. We can go and talk about whatever you want, and
We have talked about all sorts of stuff, man. We went from we have
talked about turtles and
turtles, tax incentives, race massacres. You guys run a fun show.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, we
There's
don't-
no rules.
No,
Literally.
literally zero rules when we do this. What is the one thing that you are most excited about to see over these next couple days?
So I only had to make notes on this, so I didn't forget.
No, that's what I need to do half the time.
I am actually okay. So I will tell you the two films I have not seen yet or I guess 3 I haven't seen yet that I'm pretty pumped for. First off, you guys already mentioned it, Summer of Soul, Questlove's documentary. It's going to be playing to the public this evening, so very, very excited about that. I'm a big fan of his. Another one, fun fact, Mickey Reese is a tremendous filmmaker here from the Oklahoma City area. Guy has been making movies like crazy for like 20 years, and he's got a film that is debuting in the Tribeca Film Festival, I believe today actually, called Agnes. And we will be having an in-person screening of that next Saturday over at the Rodeo Cinema at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on June 19th. Super excited to see that. I will tell you, love him or hate him, I've never seen a Mickey Reese movie that has been boring, not once.
That's a great way.
And they're always interesting.
Okay.
Even if I don't like the interesting, they're interesting, and I will be thinking about it for days. So I'm pretty pumped for that, for Agnes. Yeah. And then another one. So those are the two that I'm pretty pumped for. Another one I want to call out though is a short film, Stick Up. And the reason I mention this, one of the Cinematropolis co-founders, Jacob Burns, who you guys met the party last night. He was the cinematographer on that one. You guys had talked it up a little bit. It's called Stick Up. So I was like, hey, that wasn't on my radar until we were talking about it. It sounds pretty cool. I read the premise. So I'm game. It's I think the director for that one is Chris McIntosh. So yeah, that's probably one of the shorts I'm most excited about seeing.
Stick Up, and that plays tonight on the virtual Okie Shorts.
Number 2.
Yeah, number dose. I don't know why I said dose, but that was one of those ones where I saw the premise for it and I was like, okay, this sounds kind of interesting, and I got into it. And it starts off kind of very different, and then once you get into the meat of what the actual conflict is, I was like, all right, this is different. And I was telling you, there's one part where they do something with like a visual effect that I was like, I've never seen that before.
That is the best thing about movies, because I feel like especially in the world like tons of CGI and everything.
Yes.
Like whenever you have those moments where you're like, holy cow, I've never seen it done this way before, or I can't figure out how they did that. That is movie magic.
Yeah.
That's fine. So that's another thing you said that really sold me on.
Yeah.
Like, want to check it out.
So like that was the one moment where I was like, okay, like not only have like what you just said there, like not only have I never seen that before, but I was like, I don't know how they did that. Like I legitimately do not know how that was put onto film. So watch it and we'll talk about it. Have you haven't seen it yet?
I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what you think about that one. But I'm interested to see the Holy Fritz, the stained glass. I want to see that here soon, and we're going to be talking about that in the future probably. But Caleb, This has been fun, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys took me on a ride.
Yeah, that's what we do.
This is fun. It's fun. I hope we didn't get too deep for anyone for their Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon film talks, but it was a great combo. I really appreciated the opportunity. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you so much for coming all the way up from Texas to
Thank you guys for
participate
having
in
us.
deadCenter, and I appreciate the invite to be on your show today.
Yeah, man. We'll be on. We're gonna be recording it tomorrow with you for the Cinematropolis.
Yes, so you guys will be on my show, Cinematropolis. Unfortunately, I do not do live streams. You guys are very sophisticated on the live stream side. We'll be posting ours on Tuesday, and we'll be speaking. Honestly, just going to be getting your take, especially because we'll be recording at once you guys have pretty much wrapped up your festival activities. We'll kind of get your take on everything, especially from folks who've come out of town. What was your experience? What stuck out to you? So your listeners can check that out by subscribing to Cinematic Podcast Tuesday morning. We have a lot of other great conversations. One movie that I want to give a shout out to before we wrap up is Alien on Stage, my favorite documentary of the festival.
Okay.
And I was talking to you guys about it last night. It's essentially in the UK, these people who their passion side projects, similarly to the Foo Fighters documentary, was making a stage play adaptation, pantomime, I should say, of Ridley Scott's Alien. And what is amazing about this documentary, and I mean this genuinely, is these people are they are putting blood, sweat, and tears. You can tell they have a director who is like being like a drill sergeant, like, can we do that over again? Like yelling at them and stuff. I'm like, these people are in it, and it's their side job. And the result is reminiscent of Tommy Wiseau's The Room, but but also that movie is like a gem at the same time.
It's perfection.
Because it's made by people who really loved and believed that they were making something amazing.
Yeah.
And
I cannot wait to see this.
yeah, but what I also say though is the movie doesn't come down hard on them for that. It actually, because they also kind of realize that. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it, but they lean into it. I'll just put it that way. And it's a really uplifting documentary. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I actually thought they did deploy a lot of really clever story tactics. So unlike some other documentaries, unlike most documentaries, I thought they played with the form pretty well.
So yeah, Alien on Stage, which is available right now.
Yes, available on virtual cinema. So yeah, we've got an interview with the filmmaker that I'll be posting for my listeners, for the directors, producers of that one tomorrow. And like I said, I think the other big one I want to call out is the having a panel discussion with reps from the Oklahoma Film Music Office and the Green Pasture Studios, and just talking about from their perspective, people who are very qualified to talk about those things, to talk about what exactly they're seeing, where things are trending, and what the future of Oklahoma filmmaking might look like.
So yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna definitely check that one out and talk about it, because I'm very interested to see what happens here in the future with this area, and especially coming up and being able to be a part of it and cover it and see what's going on. But man, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break. Say goodbye to Caleb.
We'll be right back.
We'll be right back in a minute. Mute this. Mute that as well. That's I think it's on the front. All right, guys, so we're back right now. That was Caleb Masters from the Cinematropolis. Thank you again to him for coming on. That was a great conversation, all over the place like we usually do. We kind of jump around into different topics that we are really interested in. So you can check him out at the Cinematropolis, or at the Cinematrop on Twitter. He will be having a lot of really cool episodes. I'm really interested to hear his episode with the OKC film people.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty
that's I
interesting.
cannot wait for, because I think with this industry here in Oklahoma, what they've got going on right now, it bodes really well for what's going to be happening in the future. I didn't realize that it was a $200 million budget for
surprised.
that
I mean,
Martin
it's a
Scorsese.
Apple TV project with Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wasn't the Irishman like a $300 million project?
It was something ridiculous like that,
Yeah.
because it was like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour movie. Like,
Right, and they had to do all the de-aging technology for Robert De Niro.
did you
so-
watch that? Did you watch The Irishman?
Yeah, it's way too long, dude. It's not that good. It's
I was
really not.
I was high on
What?
sedation when I watched that.
Why were you sedated?
I had just had a procedure, and so like I got home that day, and Irishman had been out for a couple weeks, but I just didn't have time to watch it. So I was like,
Oh, is that when you're getting all those tests done and whatnot?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so then I was like, I've got the whole day off. I'm just gonna watch this, and yeah, it was very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it just dragged on.
It did.
Could have been
It
like
really did.
half, like it could have been half the length that it actually ended up being.
Which, and real fast, we were talking about this with Caleb, and Vinny came in clutch with the research.
On John
Fact
Cena.
check is what it is. Yeah, John Cena was in the WWE in 2002.
You should hire Vinny on as a producer.
Producer for sure, yeah,
Yeah.
which is why we need to go to Michigan, Ryan. I'm going to get you to Michigan for sure.
But
But
as long as it's not during the winter. Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't
I'm
do
good,
that.
but I do not want to go during.
it was 40 degrees last week in Chicago.
Seriously?
I think that was on Caleb's Twitter. He was like, he had to go to Chicago for somebody, and it was like 40 degrees.
Dude, I'm good.
Yeah,
No, thank
so
you.
that does not sound like it would be
It was-
fun.
That was June. Like 40 degrees in June.
Yeah, that's awful.
It's insane.
So what you were saying, we were going to talk about something
Oh,
on air.
right. So yeah.
Did we get somebody in trouble?
Yeah, Ruxin kind of got called out by
Mama?
for smoking cigars.
Whoops a daisy.
So sorry, buddy. He
Um,
said, yeah, unfortunately, Dad was out of the house because Dad would have been the one that judged him.
say that again?
He said he was glad that Dad was out of the house when we said that because Dad would have been the one to judge him about it.
Oh, but not Mom freaking out
He
over
just
it?
said Mom didn't give a shit. So.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Shmom asked, did it pain Ryan to admit liking Oklahoma?
I didn't admit to like it.
Yeah, he was very specific in what
yeah,
he
I
said.
had to correct Ruxin when he texted me about that. I said there were certain small parts of Oklahoma City that were kind of cool.
Yeah,
That in
which-
no way totaled to a some liking of
Oklahoma
Oklahoma overall.
as a whole.
Not at all.
But we have not heard anything. I'm going to call him out, so this might not help our chances. But I have not heard a thing from Oak Cliff Film Festival right in our backyard. And yet,
Seriously?
yeah, and yet Dead Center Film Festival
Well,
is
who
like
have
putting
you-
us up in hotels and having us in a
Giving us
studio.
studio space?
Yeah, like
Who have you tried to contact there?
Did-
Just like the general.
info at Oak Cliff Film, because I've like
Okay,
I've done.
yeah.
Hold on, I've done like a full like 30 to 40 minutes of research trying to find like another email to try and like get into contact with them, and I can't find anything. Like they keep their stuff super under lock and key.
Huh.
But like I need
Why
to.
would you reach out to who's the guy who's the producer and jockey?
Oh, you mean the director?
be so-
Ryan. I think his name was Ryan.
Because he'll know someone.
Yeah, I need to reach out to him again.
Yeah, just email and be like, hey,
'Cause
you know,
I've been
trying to get in touch with someone to cover Oak Cliff.
I've been waiting to reach out to him for October, November, when like Jockey comes out, because
Yeah.
he's gonna come on, and well, he potentially will be coming on to talk about Jockey.
That's weird. It should be in their best interest to like.
Yeah, but they're like, I think they have so many people coming from like out of state, because like the one guy that like you sent me, I think it was, is like
Yeah.
from Baltimore. He's coming in to cover it.
Uh-huh.
So like they're somehow a they have a lot of people from across this country wanting to talk about it, but they've got a lot of great content or got a lot of great films in that as well.
It's not like a very. I mean, I wouldn't imagine it's much bigger than this festival, really, right?
I don't know, man, because they have like a Riz Ahmed film in there. They've got a couple like pretty big projects that are going to be at the film festival.
Really?
Yeah. But then like that's super weird because like Dallas Film Festival's never been able to do anything like that.
Right.
Which that's going to be in October or November.
Yeah.
Because they have
That's
another-
yeah. How many film festivals does Dallas have? Like 2 or 3?
2 or 3, because there's Thin Line up in Denton. There's the Dallas Film Festival,
Oak Cliff.
Oak Cliff Film Festival, and then there's like obviously some smaller ones, but like those are the big, film festivals for sure. But then there's like South by Southwest down in Austin, and then like the Austin Independent Film Festival.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, but like that's down in Austin. So no, I think I wanted to talk to you about this, and it's something that I hadn't really thought about. I guess I didn't know that there was a tax incentive that's just been granted to Oklahoma for film, but also as they kind of build up, are they kind of positioning themselves not only just with a new studio, but with new legislation and new tax incentives and tax breaks for big productions to move out of Georgia in this way? And there's one in particular, and I don't want to like be too grandiose, or I don't know what the right word I'm trying to think, but like what's the one big studio and big property that we love that has always been in Atlanta?
Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel,
Right.
like Pinewood.
I don't like.
I think that's way
Well,
too big, but
I mean, I think maybe eventually it could rival, like, it could bring in some of the same stuff that Atlanta has, but it's going to take a long time. Like, it's going to take, it's not going to be, like, immediate. It's probably going to be in the next, like, 5 to 7 year time frame. They'll hopefully get to, like, kind of close to what Atlanta has.
yeah.
It's gonna take a lot of work. It's gonna take a lot of like momentum to get to that point. And I don't unless something kind of drastic changes in Atlanta, like I wouldn't foresee Marvel. If anything, Marvel's gonna move out. Start doing all their stuff in front of the Mandalorian like technology.
Oh yeah,
Right.
they're-
So there's a. That could just start being done completely at like Lucas Ranch or somewhere else. But
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma definitely has the potential to kind of cannibalize some of Atlanta's projects. But it's interesting that like I'd be interested to know what Kayla was talking about, like what happened there that people were wanting to leave. So you made it sound like something negative had happened there.
in Georgia,
Yeah.
there's the abortion bill and the elections bill.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, it's all that
Got
stuff.
it,
So like
okay.
a lot of the people were like saying we're gonna boycott the Georgia film and like the
Are
Atlanta.
Oklahoma City's laws any better than?
I was gonna say I don't know, but like
Okay.
they're obviously trying to make, and I think that's why a lot of people went to Atlanta in the first place. Like there was a lot of tax breaks in Georgia.
That's for sure why they went.
Yeah.
because It was so. Not only did you have all the tax incentives, like for films specifically, but then you also had like way better like corporate and individual income tax rates versus New York or California.
Yeah, which I know that's why like a lot of people are leaving California. Like it's a higher cost of living. There's obviously like higher taxes. So if you can come to a place like either maybe not Texas, but like Oklahoma or
Oklahoma, New Orleans.
yeah. So I think that's where this is kind
Yeah,
of heading.
it's a shame because like Dallas used to have a pretty good tax incentive for film and TV shows, but
They've just done nothing with
they
it.
haven't really made it a priority, and that's why
That's why we're in Oklahoma. But like, and the other thing is like, this community I think is a lot more, and it's very inclusive. It's very familial, and all these people know each other, and all these people like are welcoming, and so it's been really cool to see. And so I'm excited to see what the future of this
Yeah.
is. Like
I
this will
would
not
love
be the last time we're here.
No, for sure. I would love to come back and see what Prairie Surf Studios looks like when it's done being built out.
Dude,
Because basically, like, at the party last night, it was just an empty
black room.
black conference room, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would assume that on the soundstage, you're going to have, like, whole different variety of sets built out
Yeah.
for people to, come and record in. So
I can't wait to see. That's gonna be incredible.
it's also going to be really interesting to see, like, what studios or who comes and, like, who's going to be the first to start doing projects here?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
I
what type
cannot
of
wait to
projects are
see
gonna be
like
done here?
what I don't know if it'll happen or not. Like, but I could see some. But like we've already seen it. Like they have the Scorsese movie being filmed out near Tulsa, and
Right.
Matt Damon filmed a little bit of his new movie. I think it's Blackwater, Stillwater.
What they really need is they need like a really popular Netflix or Hulu show that's going to be a long running, like
Yeah.
5 to 6 seasons to film here. And then that's how you get the momentum. You get a few of those up and running here, and then like big film projects will come, and hopefully eventually like DC or Marvel or whoever like will take a stab at doing a couple projects here. And then that's why I said like on the 5 to 7 year horizon, like it could be to the point that it rivals some of the other major like film and TV centers outside of New York and LA.
California and LA and all those areas. No, man, it's been cool. This is just it's a really neat experience. And I meant to say this to Caleb earlier, but like first in person, other than one of our friends or family, first in person interview or a guy.
We didn't mention that when he was here.
Yeah, but first in person. I'll add a little snippet before he comes on. But first in person interview that we've been able to do, first in person event that we've been able to do. So this is breaking new ground for FFT, for Load
And it was
Filming
actually,
Talks.
we got this like whole studio set up. Like
This thing's awesome.
yeah, but like I'm actually pleasantly surprised that we didn't have any major hitches in like getting this set up because
No, and we, I think it's hard to kind of like come in here and be like, our setup is okay, because like this setup is legit.
this is a real setup.
Yeah, like this is something, and that's the other thing that I was really excited about, like doing something like this, seeing what other people have.
No, that's for sure. Because like after seeing this, I'm like, okay, what we need at home is like a circular couch.
We need
with-
something like this,
with
dude. Like,
handles-
this is legit.
With handles in the back built in, so we can put mics on. Right.
Yeah.
Like, real life.
Steven has this set up really well. This whole studio is amazing. He's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. We are, but I want to shout. Steven is awesome. He is the owner of the Tower Theater, and he has this whole studio. It's amazing. He's like, these guys are crazy. Yeah. So no, but like this is what we need. Like this is the type of thing that to move forward
Yes.
is definitely
We definitely need to move away from having two unmatching office chairs in front of a broken down coffee table. with a
that wasn't even ours.
The tripod because one leg is falling off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody has to start somewhere, Ryan.
Sure.
Could you make something like this? Could you do that, Ryan?
What do I look like? Jesus at 20?
Yeah, you could do it. You could figure it out.
Or something? Do you like that joke?
I did. I got it immediately. No, but like this, and this is part of the reason that coming out to these things, you learn and you're able to see like what other people are doing and grow and figure out what.
We're also going to be able to see Caleb set up tomorrow, so that'll be cool.
Yes, yeah, I'm excited to jump on his podcast. That'll be another first for us. Us jumping on another podcast. Have we ever? I don't think we've ever been on.
Okay. You sure?
I'm 99% positive.
Sure. For some reason, I feel like we might have.
We were talking about going on Tony's. That never happened.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
He has a new podcast with another comedian.
A new comedian?
Yeah, a new comedian called Rocky Dale Davis.
Dude, that's the comedian's name?
Yes.
Oh, as long as it's not Pong.
You need to stop hating Pong. Pong is a friend. He is my friend, yes. So we are going to be going and watching some Okie shorts later. We need to reserve our seats for that. And then we will be checking out Pause the Game tonight, which I'm really excited about. That's, I think, the thing that I'm the most excited about.
That really doesn't start till 9:30.
It starts at 8:45.
8:45.
And then Summer of Souls at 9:30.
So
if you want to bounce,
back.
yeah, if you want to bounce before that's over.
I stayed to the party till like.
So when I was, yes, you were a trooper last night.
Yeah, I was super tired.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed talking to the few folks we did.
Yeah, let's get into that real fast. Like,
Why?
I don't know, because I can't. Did I grab the cards? Oh no. So
Did you hand those out to anybody?
no.
You should have just left them all over the place.
I thought about doing that, and I was like,
What you should have done is walked into the middle of the room and just like LeBron.
kind of done what like Jerry Jones did in that like schedule release video, where he was just like,
Exactly. Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
his
Just
two
walk up to a group
players.
of people and just like fan it out in their face.
yeah. That's one way to get us kicked out.
There's a lot of ways to get us kicked out last night.
Yeah. No, it was just pros and cons. The room was huge, so
Yeah,
everybody was able to
okay.
kind of like fan out.
And it was pitch black, so you could like not
Yeah.
figure out who people were really.
Yeah, there was like no way. It was really even hard to like be like, oh, that's Caleb over there. But we got to meet one of the board of directors, Charlie. He's a huge Chuck fan, which was awesome to find out because
Yeah.
I love Chuck.
It was like a combo with
Chuck.
Charlie.
He's going to be there tonight as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of just really fun.
pretty sweet combo line that went down. right before we
Yes,
left.
and then there was a lot of people dancing as we left.
Yeah, they started to do the Cupid Shuffle.
Is that what they were doing?
Oh yeah, that was the last song
Jesus.
that they started before we left. Which is a mainstay at all
Weddings.
corporate parties and weddings, yes.
Is that you're speaking from experience here?
Oh yeah.
I've never really been to a corporate Christmas party. I've been to one.
I've more weddings though. Like you know the parties get started when they start playing the Cupid Shuffle.
Yeah, and
Like
like
the song is literally telling you how to dance. Like it's the perfect song for getting anyone
people
to dance.
people who do not know how to dance.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I've never thought about it that way. But yeah, like also I love like the concept of the conga line. To me, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also like because it always starts out with like it takes like two, three people, and then for a good 5 minutes, it's like that's sad. Two
Yeah,
to
and
three
then
people.
eventually add, you know, if I had been there with a date, you know,
We did
and
not
I-
get lit, Vinny.
Well,
I had a couple of Coronas, but
He had 3 Corona seltzers.
no, it was Corona Premier. It wasn't the
Oh,
seltzer.
Excuse me.
Yeah, because I'm not drinking Corona seltzers, which is an official sponsor.
Corona Premier only had 4% ABV.
Yeah,
Huh.
I don't know. Corona is an official sponsor of deadCenter Film Festival, so
Is it really?
it is, I believe so.
Was it Toyota?
I have no idea.
Okay. That's another thing. That was kind of weird. They had like a
They had cars, yeah, just-
random Toyota Corolla like parked on the side.
which was kind of awesome, because people just started randomly honking the
Actually, do you
horn.
think maybe that's like the first prop they had for the soundstage? Like maybe they're gonna have like a.
They're just gonna blow up that one car.
No. They have like that's for shooting like driving scenes. You think
That'd be
they-
kind of badass, actually.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They set up like a green screen room with a car,
And then
so they
put
can-
it on like a track, and it's
Yeah, so they can shoot like driving scenes.
maybe, yeah.
I really doubt that's what that's for.
But we're gonna say it is now.
Yeah.
Where Caleb is very very clear what his facts are versus opinion.
We don't
We're
care.
just
We
yeah
make stuff all day long.
yeah
You know,
yeah. What else?
Does Vinny have any?
Vinny asked
questions
if
or
we
comments?
Vinny asked if we got lit last night. I like that question a lot.
We did not.
I got news.
the,
I'll be. Oh, Vinny's coming to Dallas next year.
Oh, next year.
Next year.
Okay.
What Vinny in the chat, let us know what time of year. He asked, will you guys be reviewing the new Liam Neeson Lawrence Fishburne movie coming out June 25th on Netflix called Ice Road? If it's Liam Neeson, probably.
Yes, for sure. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No,
Looks
I
dope.
probably have.
Looks really cool.
He also asked
If I'm thinking about the right Liam Neeson movie.
the biggest. Oh, he was saying about Fast Furious, Jurassic World, biggest crossover in history.
It would be.
Absolutely,
100%.
100.
Unless the only thing that would top that if they did a DC versus Marvel movie. If DC and Marvel got together to make a movie, that'd be the only thing that like would top it.
Would that be? How would that be perceived? Would that be perceived as like DC is like being taken seriously now, like it's up on the level of Marvel, or would it be like Marvel is stooping to the level of DC? Like how would that be perceived?
I think people would love that because like people love the DC versus Marvel video games. So like
Yeah.
it'd be kind of like a video game movie, and kind of like a superhero movie or a comic book movie. People would go nuts over that.
Oh, he's gonna be here next April,
Okay.
so
Cool, man.
he'll definitely be on the podcast
yes.
for sure. Hopefully we'll have we'll have a setup very akin to this.
Hopefully we'll be in a new house with a more setup
Shh.
somewhere.
Will you guys be reviewing the new Karen Gillian Netflix movie, Gunpowder Milkshake?
We have no idea what that is.
I have seen I have not watched the trailer for that yet. I have seen it. We need to.
Okay.
We will be watching it for sure when it comes out. Anything Netflix, really.
Maybe I'll watch the trailer. We'll talk about it Wednesday.
Yes, that will be our follow-up for Gun. I love that name though. It's like Guns Akimbo.
What is it?
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Sounds disgusting.
I'm so on board.
That's how you can.
Is it, Ryan? I don't think that's how. But yeah, we are going to be here today and tomorrow for the deadCenter Film Festival. Make sure to check out the Instagrams at Furloughed Film Talks and Twitter at Furloughed Film. Ryan, is there anything else?
We wrapping this up?
Do you have anything else you want to talk about with the deadCenter Film Festival that we're here for?
No.
None?
Just,
Thank you to them.
yeah, very appreciative of deadCenter.
Thank you to Steven and
Tower Theater.
Tower Theater and Pony Boy and Alex, the executive director. We got to talk to her last night. She was super cool. Charlie, one of the board of directors, and last but absolutely not least, Crystal. Crystal
Yes.
has been the bomb, helping us set up everything and being able to, get this really kind of going. As well as Miranda. Miranda's got us. She is the director of operations and festival.
Yeah.
She was able to get our keys for last night, so she was super cool.
Really getting into the nitty-gritty here.
Heck yeah, we are, because we can, Ryan. You know what?
Yeah.
I can get into any nitty gritty I want to.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you so much to all our audience. Please
yes.
stay tuned. We'll be covering deadCenter for next week and probably the week after as we watch more of the content that they have.
Yeah, they've got a lot. They've got like 180 titles on the virtual platform that you can
Yeah.
check out.
So we're going to have a ton to talk about in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and we'll be posting stuff to our socials and all that about what we have going on today. But everybody, thank you guys so much. This is such a badass thing that is happening. Did you guys see the new movie In the Heights? We have not seen In the Heights yet.
No, I have not. I will probably, yeah. I'll probably see that.
Will you?
Yeah.
Why do you say it like that? No.
No, I can't. I'm not gonna.
Okay, all right. So I'll be watching it by myself. If that doesn't tell you,
I don't want you to.
I know you don't. So yeah, we'll be watching In the Heights at some point. It's been getting really great reviews. They've been
I'm
doing.
actually kind of excited to see it.
Yeah, I love the ad campaign that they're doing where it's like, we're gonna have all these stars that are gonna like promote the movie for us. Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson was in an ad for them talking.
Why?
I don't know. It was like him, Ariana Grande, the lady from The Good Place.
I think all of them have actually worked with like
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
Good
Did I get
job.
it right?
Yeah, close. It was close.
Miranda?
It was close enough.
But anyways.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back on Wednesday to provide more on the deadCenter Film Festival. If you want passes are still available at deadcenterfilm.org. We will be on the Cinematropolis. That episode will be out Tuesday. We will share that out there as well. So get ready for that. But everybody, have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you in a couple of days.
Adios, amigos.